Welcome to episode 756 of today's Antidote. It got a late start today because we had some issues, all kinds of stuff going on in the background. But hey, that's all behind us. That's aside. We're going to talk now about your pathway, your route towards your pathway, your desired route. That's right, how you want to go. We've made some real discoveries this week, and it's going to be fun to talk through them. What did you discover this week if you were talking about it in your head with us as we went through the week, or as you think about your desired pathway, how you want to go to achieve your goals? What have you discovered in general about how you go, about what it looks like, about ways that you can make sure you're on that desired pathway, or how that desired pathway might change? All that and more is coming up next on today's Antidote.
Stay tuned for today's Antidote, brought to you by the Renegade Success Network. Today's Antidote features a healthy dose of thought-provoking insights and information for business owners, entrepreneurs, leaders, and nonprofit professionals. Each day since March of 2020, this program has offered that one thing to help you continue on your own unique pathway to success. And now, Renegades, we bring you Bob Graham and Tom Brush.
Good morning, Tom.
Good morning, Bob. How are you today?
I'm okay, except the stuff I have to do at the beginning, I did not get done because I sent you something. So the thing I copy and paste, I didn't copy and paste. So I'm now doing two things at once, which is never a good thing.
Multitasking, huh? It's not your skill set?
No, not even on a bet.
Fair enough. Fair enough. And everyone, we apologize for being a little bit late today. If you're on the podcast, you don't know any different. If you were looking for the live stream, you noticed that we're a little bit behind today. I had some technical issues. Bob had something come up. It was a interesting morning so far. Lots of thoughts about other things we could do.
Changes to our desired pathway.
Yes, it would be. Some people might actually enjoy the chaos that goes on in our conversations prior and after these episodes. So,
have you ever noticed the discussions prior are chaotic and the ones after are much more reined in?
Yeah, I think because we're like, oh, we need to get going and do the show. And then we have one more thing pop up and it's something completely on the other end. So,
well, the best was we were talking about something kind of serious that I was going through, and Tom asked me a question about something very technical, completely unrelated. And he's like, I'm sorry, is it okay if we change topics?
Yeah, I felt there was something going on and we were talking about those, and it felt like we were nearing the end. And I was about to, and I was like, wait a minute. I got to make sure that we don't need to continue with this before I ask this kind of silly question about something else. A little insight into the behind.
Someday for the Ring of Renegades Facebook group, Tom, one of these days, I'm going to do a live stream of the 5-10 minutes before the program. I'm just going to let them behind the curtain and see what's going on. Maybe I'll do that one day next week. So if you join the Ring of Renegades Facebook group, which no cost, all you have to do is answer a couple of questions. One day next week, I'm going to pull my camera out and I'm going to do a nice little, here's what goes on before the program.
Are you going to let me know that, or am I going to potentially walk or ask you a question that might not want to be behind the scenes?
I was going to say, you're not in any peril usually. I am.
Yes, although sometimes I ask the questions. Some of our conversation beforehand today would not have been
we are not going to do it on Monday. I'll leave it at that.
So you are going to do it without letting me know.
Well, you'll alter what you do, but you'll see because I'll have the camera up like this.
Maybe what you should do is record it. And then, here's what I would suggest. You record it and not tell me.
Folks, I've got Tom uncomfortable. This is good.
No, I think, only because I'm thinking ahead of the obstacles that could come in the way.
You're actually trying to protect me, aren't you?
Yeah, I am.
Let's just call it.
Yes, I'm trying to and me a little.
As an accessory to the crime.
So one of those things is you could record it, set up your phone to record it, and then be like, oh, we can send this. This is a good version. Or we maybe need to edit this before we make it available. No,
I'm
you want to
willing
go
to
live.
do it live.
Okay, fair enough.
One day next week. I will warn you. Okay. It won't be Monday.
Okay, awesome. All right, everyone. Well, good morning and welcome. Hopefully Bob's got all his other things that he needs to do done. So
I
that
just finished them. Yep.
Good. We can move forward. Welcome to today's Antidote, our daily broadcast and podcast, where each day we have a conversation around a topic. As Bob mentioned, sort of, at the start, our topic is your pathway, and we're focused on the desired route. So we've been talking about that all week. So if you are not quite sure what that might mean, go back. Monday's episode, we talked about what it is, and then we talked about the benefits and the challenges. And yesterday, we talked about sort of making your choice or the choices you have. So you might want to go back and check those episodes out, because I think it'll help you maybe provide a little insight and give you some discoveries you hadn't considered. Every Friday, Bob and I will share our discoveries of the week. So we'll be doing that shortly. And while we're sharing those, if you have thoughts or ideas you'd like to share or have a discovery of your own, please feel free to put it in the comments. And who knows, we might share it on the show. Likely we would. And it might be really beneficial for someone else. So please feel free to go ahead and share your thoughts and ideas. And if you happen to be listening to the podcast, we know that there's no place to comment. So as Bob mentioned, join us in the Ring of Renegades Facebook group, where we're trying to help people find the confidence they need to move forward as a leader or a business owner, or just someone who's entrepreneur trying to figure some things out. It's a great place to get some tips and training. Bob did a thing in there about how to evaluate, measure some things that you had done. He did a live video on that, which is types of trainings that are in there to help.
We even talked about ditching work for 5 days, and I
ditching
survived.
work for 5 days. That was a really good title. I like that when you did that.
Thank you.
And so there are things like that. We'll ask a lot of questions so we better understand the group and are then able to share different trainings and ideas. And then finally, there's opportunities for those of you who find the value in what's going on in there and really want to take it, supercharge it to the next level. We have some programs that we'll offer that'll a chance for you to come in and gain even more confidence, have some accountability, do some one-on-one coaching as well as group coaching, and help you figure out how to crush your next goal by doing the Renegade Pathway to Success. So all of that, lots of information for you this morning. Before we dive into our conversation again, we will share our morning celebrations, which we do every day. Bob, what are you celebrating today?
I'm going to celebrate a UPS person. So I was away for a couple of days. I ordered a classical guitar. Okay. It's a pretty fragile thing.
Yes.
The way it was set up, it came while I was away. And the UPS guy could have left it in front of my apartment, and it would have been out in the cold, and it would have, potentially gotten damaged. He tried one day, left a note saying, "Hey, I came by, please, look for me tomorrow." Did a second time. Yesterday, he came by yesterday specifically after work hours, because he thought it had been afternoon before, and he was afraid I was at work. And he's like, "I didn't want to leave this for you, because I know it's a guitar and I know how fragile they are. So I'm really glad you're here. Thank you for being here." And I'm like, "No, thank you for caring so much." So we often talk about, we have so many processes and systems that sometimes we forget the human part of it. But he was genuinely excited for me to get this guitar. He's like, "I don't know much about guitars, but I know they're fragile. Can I ask, what do you play?" And I'm like, "Well, it's actually a classical guitar. I'm trying to figure out how to do some finger picking." And he's like, "Oh, that's really cool. Wow. You're like not young. When did you realize you're going to do this?" And we had a little discussion. I mean, this guy I've never met before, never seen before, but just the opportunity for a person who's in a role that doesn't always allow for the human quality of chatting to actually have a chat. And I'm like, "Hey, do you want a bottle of water or something?" He's like, "Do you have any soda?" I'm like, "I actually do." And I gave him a can of soda. He's like, "Oh, you made my day." And
nice.
Just, we don't think of that, because sometimes we build the systems, we build the process, and it's go, go, go. And if you've ever seen a UPS person, a FedEx person, or more the letter carriers, it's go, go, go. They don't get a lot of time to talk to people. And I think this was a case where he steered the conversation. I didn't. I just thanked him. And he was like, "Oh, what's it for?" And I thought I was going to unwrap it in front of him because it was in a big box. But he's like, no, I got to get back to work. I'm like, "Do you want to come back afterwards? Because I'll wait." He's like, "No, I got to go all the way here." But It just a nice human intervention. And I liken it to, you know how you see the movies from like the 40s and 50s, and they have that scene where everyone knows each other in the town hall, and you go in to get like your groceries, and Mabel knows that you like this certain kind of bread that she saved for you and all that. It was kind of like that.
Interesting. You go to the town hall to get groceries in small towns?
Well, you know, like the town center. Sorry, the town center.
Fair
Where all
enough.
the shops are.
Okay. Well, and it was interesting that he called you not young. Is that what he said, or is that your?
No, that's what he said.
Nice.
But and like almost every other guy that I talk to about guitar, they're surprised I'm learning it at an advanced age. Like I think 90% of guys wish that they learned guitar when they were 16.
Sure.
There's the 10% that do. There's the 10% that tries and gives up. And then there's the, I don't even know what percentage, older people that play guitar. I have an online guitar teacher now who said all of his clients are in their 50s and 60s, mostly guys.
Interesting.
So there you have it.
At their advanced age.
That's it. That's it.
Fair enough. All right.
So what are you doing at your advanced age, Tom?
Well, I'm not considering myself at an advanced age.
Earlier, before the program, you called yourself middle-aged.
I would say middle-aged.
Okay.
Different than advanced age. Advanced age to me is like, hopefully I make it to the advanced age of 80 or 90 or whatever that may be. So that to me is advanced.
Okay.
Anyhow, so my celebration today is starting today. I get to do some professional development, which I think is an important piece of how we continue to grow. So and this is
out for yourself, or you're leading a group in some development?
A little bit of both.
Oh.
So one of my side things, for those of you who don't know, is I officiate girls and women's lacrosse. And this weekend is what they call LaxCon.
LaxCon.
Yes. How about that? We don't dress up. We just.
It's not sponsored by X-Lax, is it?
No.
Okay.
I don't think so. So anyhow, this is the big lacrosse convention here in Baltimore. And so I'm going to learn about new rules, opportunities, sort of try to improve my game. And also because I'm on the U.S. Lacrosse Training Committee, we are helping, and the part that I'm going to be talking about is helping people who train other officials find some new strategies, some new confidence, and how they train and the ways that they can train new officials. So if you're interested in being a new official, reach out to me. We're always looking for people to officiate.
Girls and women's lacrosse.
Yes. Yes. And if you're interested in officiating in general and thought about it, if you're one of those people out there who complain about the NFL officials, and there's a lot of that going on if you're an NFL fan, maybe you ought to step up and try it once for yourself. It's amazing what happens once you become an official, how you look differently at the role of officiating in athletic events.
And if you like to blow a whistle a lot in front of people, girls lacrosse is one of the most whistle-blowing things I've ever seen.
We're whistleblowers?
Oh, I used to have nieces that played lacrosse in high school, and it was just nonstop whistles.
Have you ever watched field hockey?
Yes.
There's a lot of whistles in a lot of sports. Football, basketball. Anyhow.
Not baseball.
No whistles in baseball. Correct. So if you like blowing a whistle, don't go be a baseball or softball official. So I'm excited about that.
Wait. Nugget for the day.
Yes.
Our grasp at the obvious.
Yes. So I'm excited. Not only am I looking forward to learning things, obviously there are people who I've met across the country who are coming in for this. So it's an opportunity to network, connect, and engage with people. And so, yeah, I'm excited.
This is an annual event.
It is an annual event. Yep.
That your wife, Liz, our voice artist at the beginning, plays a very active role in.
She does. She helps sort of put together the content for the weekend.
Nice. Well, hopefully you guys have a fun weekend.
Downtown Baltimore.
I like whenever we bring people into Baltimore.
I agree. So
great city.
That's my celebration.
Awesome.
So now, all week we've been talking about your pathways, desired route. Bob, do you want to start off with your discoveries of the week?
Sure. My discovery is really simple. The desired pathway changes. The route changes. I can't think of one time. I was thinking about this yesterday. I can't think of one time where I mapped out my pathway and that route was exactly as I desired at the beginning. Even today's program is a great example. You know, I had every expectation we were going to start right on time at 7, and then things started to happen, and the desired plan got altered. And fortunately, you and I, neither of us got really flustered by it. It wasn't like, oh my God, it's 7:05. What are we going to do? The things we had to tend to were, in our estimation, more important at that moment. And here we are doing the program, and the world did not come to an end, and everything's fine. And I think that's the second part of it in terms of the desired route is the desired route. It's not the carved in stone, got to be the route. When I was at Disney World, we went a certain direction to get to one of the areas, and they closed off, I think, for fireworks because it was later in the day.
Probably.
And it was the main pathway. Like, well, guess we're going around. And as we went around, we actually found some things that we hadn't seen because it forced us to go in a direction we hadn't planned. And as we were trying to orient ourselves and figure out our way back, we saw things because we were looking more closely at things. And I think that's the opportunity that, yes, we have a desired route that often we strive to take because it seems easy or it seems safe or it seems comfortable to us or we have confidence in it.
Or everyone else is taking it.
What's that?
Or everyone else is taking it.
Or everyone else is taking it.
That's the pathway for us.
But when we went this alternate way, we saw shops that we hadn't seen. We saw things that we hadn't seen. We saw a view of Cinderella's castle that we hadn't seen. And so we got to see a whole bunch of things that we wouldn't have seen otherwise because we were following the route that we had taken every time and it worked the way we worked. And I think that's the opportunity. So rather than going, oh, we had to walk an extra 10 minutes, we walked away from the experience saying, wow, I'm glad that happened. And I think that's the thing that I most realize about the desired route. Yes, it's desired, but often the route, the deviations that we take are where the real opportunities lie and where the real lessons are and the beauty of it. It goes back to that saying, it's not the destination, it's the journey.
Okay.
How about you?
Well, it's interesting. Yesterday, when we were talking about choices you can make, I didn't think about it until almost at the end of the show. So I didn't bring it up. And I was sort of kind of saving it for this, I guess. And it reminded me, because we were talking about we have choices, choice whether and we gave the example of using your phone, your directions, where you can go in and say, avoid tolls, avoid highways, what's fastest, what's longest or shortest. And you have the ability to make those choices. And that reminded me of one of my all-time favorite poems, one that was on our refrigerator growing up at home that struck me is The Road Not Taken by Robert Frost. Not sure if you're familiar with that. There's a couple of, so I went and looked at it this morning, just thinking about it and how I'm, where else I could share that content. And there's two parts to it that really struck me this morning. And the first one is two roads diverged in a wood. And I had a choice to make. It's not exactly what it says, but basically that's what it is. And at the end of the poem, the guy says, Robert Frost says, I took the one less traveled by, and that has made all the difference. And it just reminded me that that's our opportunity, right? Not that we have to take the one less traveled. Although to me, the one less traveled is our unique desired route. Desired pathway, and because no one else will travel it with our knowledge, experience, and perspective. And so I just was equating that desired route that it is actually our choice. We have the choice to make some of that. And this was fascinating because I hadn't really remembered this line. And yet I think that it has some fascinating things, about some of the things we've talked about how, you're only in one situation once. You'll never be in that exact same situation with the exact same knowledge, experience, and perspective. And I hadn't remembered this as part of the poem. And it says, the stanza is, and both that morning lay equally lay, in leaves no step had trodden black. oh, I kept the first for another day, which is interesting. So we stand here and say, okay, here's my desired route. I'm going to choose one. I'll leave the other for another time. And then he goes on to say, yet knowing how way leads on to way, I doubted if I should ever come back. And it just really made me think that once we make that decision and choose a pathway, we'll never have the opportunity really to go to the other pathway in the same way that we did at the moment that we had a choice. And so I think and the whole idea of way leads on to way, I like, because it's about like the next step. Like you take one step, choosing a desired route. Okay, you chose it. Now you start traveling it. And as you say, it could change. And then you have to take another step. And I just think the idea of steps, continuing to take steps is going to get you somewhere. Just like you choose one pathway from the poem, and it's going to lead to another pathway, which is going to lead to another pathway, which is going to lead to another pathway. And all along the way, you have those choices to make. And so as I was wrapping all of that together, it's really, we have the opportunity to choose our desired route. And I think that so often that's not necessarily the feeling. Everybody feels like they're stuck in, this is the pathway I have to choose. This is the pathway everyone else goes. If I want to be successful, I need to do this. And with all of that baggage, it's really hard for many people to say that that I can choose my own pathway. It's interesting. I was talking with somebody yesterday who's considering joining our Renegade Pathway to Success program about, they're just talking about their pathway and how it's, they've had so many people say so many things to them that really held them back, or at least had them take pause when choosing a desired route. And many times they avoided that and we're taking different steps in what would be, I would say, is their desired route. And it has gotten them to a place, and now they are looking to figure out what the next step is, the next pathway is, decide on their next desired route. And they're looking for a group of people to be around to help them provide that type of support, and who are also thinking that way. Like, I want to take my own pathway. I want to choose the road less traveled and make it my own. And so I just thought that was kind of a really powerful thing, and tying in the poem, because I love the poem, was.
I like the poem, but as I think about it this morning, I don't like the phrase less traveled. Because while I've never traveled this pathway before, so it's not the less traveled pathway, it's just a pathway I've never traveled, right? It may be less traveled, it may be more traveled, doesn't matter. When we were at Disney World going around in a different route, I wasn't asking people, hey, have you gone this way? How many times have you gone this way? We were just figuring it out as we went. And I think what so often happens, as you were talking, I was thinking about how many times the pathway is preordained, or we think it's preordained. You've got to do this. Yes. I had a nephew who didn't want to go to college because he wanted to go into the trades, and he would complain about high school, and especially his junior and senior year, that everything was geared towards, you got to go to college, you got to go to college, got to go to college. And he didn't want to go to college. And it was really hard for him to swim against the tide, even though we need people in the trades desperately. It was almost preordained because the school he went to and the way they taught, the marker was college.
Sure.
And I kept being the one to say to him, dude, they're going to have all this college debt. You're going to go out, you're going to apprentice in something. While they're building up debt, you're going to be building up revenue. And he fortunately went into that. But it was interesting to watch the pathway was clear. High school, college, job.
That
and
was
when
the
he
road
wanted to go high school, vocational school, job, there was a lot of friction. And I think we see that a lot for all of us.
Yes, although I think that he was I think it's very similar to this, and I'm going to say that's why I like less traveled. Is we haven't traveled it. There are other people who have stood at that crossroads and said college, trade, military, work, whatever it might be. And while the path that everyone seems to believe is well traveled and the desired path, expected path, maybe rather than desired, is the college one. And so, like in the poem, if you read more of it, it talks that pathway is clear and you can see a long way down it. I would imagine the other pathways are some sense of being traveled, yet very overgrown, is the way the poem describes it. And so, while for him, he's never traveled that pathway, there are some people who have taken some of the steps along that. And then they've decided, like many of us, that it goes off in a different direction, which is why I kind of like that. You know, for your nephew, the pathway of college after high school, probably you could at least see 4 years down that road, or 2 years, whatever you choose. So that's pretty clear. It's like the highway that you're like, yep, I can see everything coming and there are no trees in the way. This is, you know, maybe there's occasionally a branch where someone was like, yeah, this isn't the path for me. And so they like decide to go somewhere else. And so the path isn't completely perfectly clear. There are some semblance of clarity around each of the other paths as someone has traveled or at least chosen that and started down that path. Now, again, we don't come to it all with our same knowledge, unique knowledge, experience, and perspective, and which is why we get to choose kind of which of those we take. And while one looks easier, the others look like, it's not as clear. I can't see as far down it. Looks like there's some trees and branches and maybe a rock or a stone or a fallen tree in the way. And yet I could still choose to take that pathway. Does that make sense?
It does. It does. I think I like that you brought the Frost poem into this. I hadn't thought of that.
It's one of my favorite poems from as long as I can remember. That was, and I wasn't always a big poetry person, although there were 2 poems that my mom put on our fridge, and both have stuck with me to this day. That I haven't thought about them as much recently, although I know that they're in my head, and I know that they are a lot of why the whole concept of renegade is so valuable to me and so meaningful.
Sounds like you need to do a little live on that one of these days.
I might do that.
I think that'd be great.
I'm going to do that. I don't know that I'll have time to do it. Maybe next week.
Okay. All right.
I would imagine that if you asked many people, and it would be curious to know, maybe this is the way I'll phrase it, is like, what poems have had an impact on you?
Or what literature, because it could also be a song.
It could. It could.
Could be a book.
It could. Although then I'd have to do another one about the book that had such an impact on me. So I'm going to stick with poems. I'm going to keep it focused.
Okay. All right.
Because that's a very different thing. I think a lot of people have songs and books.
Yep.
I don't think that people necessarily always think about poems as having the impact on them that others do. Because one of the reasons I think it is because you get to kind of create your own meaning to it in some ways.
Right. Interpret it however you see fit.
Right. Because it's not as crystal clear sometimes as a book might be.
It speaks to you in themes that you can apply to your own life.
Ew. Wow.
I taught poetry to 9th and 10th graders at one
What
point.
was your favorite poem? Or most impactful poem?
I'd have to find it. There was a poem about how you need to live your life before you die that really struck me, and I can't find it. It was in the curriculum I used at the school I taught at. I'd have to really dig hard to find it. I will post the poem that's meant a lot to me in the last couple of weeks that just someone reminded me of, by Marianne Williamson.
What's the title of it?
Can't remember. I will post it though.
Okay. I'm actually going to do a live in there now.
Okay. There you go. You go, Tom.
All right. Well, everyone, We would
Join
love
that
to.
Ring of Renegades Facebook group, because that's where all this is going to be.
If you want to gain some of the insight around that and the value that Bob and I have to share and others share.
Comment, add your poem, criticize our choices. It's all available to you right there. And hint, hint, when you get in there and you start mixing it up with people, you start showing your value. They start following up with questions. They might even want to do business with you. It could happen. I hear it happening more and more.
It is possible, no doubt. All right, everyone. Thanks so much for being with us today. If you have a discovery that you would like to share, please feel free to put it in the comments or go into the Ring of Renegades and make a post. Share what you've discovered, because it might be exactly what someone out there is looking for, or you might find exactly what you're looking for to help you take your next step along your own unique pathway to success. So we look forward to seeing you inside the Ring of Renegades Facebook group. If not, we'll see you Monday morning, 7 a.m. Eastern time. That's at least our desired route for our next episode of Today's Antidote. Go out and make it a great day.
Hey, I wanted to pause, a pregnant pause, just for sake of argument. Embrace the renegading you.
It's worth it.
It is worth it. I'm glad you brought that up. I just wanted to see if you were paying attention. It is so worth it.
Sometimes I doze off and stop listening.
I know the feeling.
Although not very often. I usually try to hold it together.
I check out all the time. I'll admit it.
That's okay. That's fair. All right, everybody. Have a great day and a great weekend. We'll see you soon. Thanks for listening to Today's Antidote, powered by the Renegade Success Network. The Renegade Success Network helps you confidently create your own unique pathway to success. To learn more about the Renegade Success Network and how you can take your next step, follow us on Twitter, connect on LinkedIn, or join the Ring of Renegades Facebook group. For full details on how you can join our community, go to renegadesuccessnetwork.com. Embrace the renegade in you.